From the Startup Experts community, this is the Becoming Better podcast, and I'm its host, Jesse Fries. Farrah, it's so awesome to sit down. I've been really excited about this conversation. We met probably 5 or 6 months ago, maybe even longer, at a conference that Robin Zander put together, the Responsive Conference, and immediately enjoyed your, just your energy and your V for life. Would you mind introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. And I will first say, Jesse, I loved our meeting as well. You sent me home with a very important book, the Go Giver book, which I know is a big part of the community now. But yes, I'm Farrah Mitra. I'm excited to be with you. I am an ex strategy consultant turned hypergrowth tech executive where I've built people and culture functions in very rapidly growing tech companies. And now I am an executive coach, a communications coach as well. So I'm super proud to be one in 15 people in the whole world who get to facilitate Radical Candor, which is a true honor. And then I am the creator of the Communicating Challenges and Change framework, which is really important right now because it's how do you give hard news in a kind and clear way. So
Yeah, we'll dig into that for sure. Um, you have an amazing background and career journey. You're not the traditional type of person that is in one of these roles. Would you kind of walk us through briefly, where you started your career and how you ended up where you are today?
yeah, absolutely, Jesse. I always say I'm the rebel because at every turn, I think I took some rebellious take that no one expected. But I think if I look back on it, Jesse, it all makes a little bit of sense. So
Okay.
I'm going to take you back further than the start, which is I was 7 years old and I was literally teaching dolls math. And it was like definitely teaching and empowering, as much as a 7-year-old could do. And it was definitely math, something analytical, the best problem solving you could do. And Jesse, that theme has followed me throughout my career. So high school, lots of community service, lots of teaching, lots of mentoring. I went to Cornell. I joined engineering there, not because I actually wanted to be an engineer. Again, totally rebellious,
Uh-huh.
but because I loved problem solving. I loved numbers. I loved analytics. And so um, when I joined Bain, or I got my offer from Bain, it was a really interesting moment, Jesse, because I'm like, oh, this is the ultimate place to solve problems. But I also really want to help people. And those two things always have to be a part of my life and where I thrive. And so I actually questioned myself, like, is this what I want to do, this corporate consulting gig? And the more I learned about Bain, the more I learned how much people are a part of what they do. They do pro bono work, they do community service, they make people so at the forefront of everything that I realized that yes, I wouldn't be on the ground teaching somewhere, but I would be enabling and empowering myself in a way that really mattered to me, and I would still get my love of business and people. So I did that for 6 years, which is not normal. People usually go to
Uh-huh.
business school after 2 years. Totally rebellious move back then. And Jesse, I volunteer for everything people under the sun. Like I will do community service, I will do your training, I will do your recruiting. Like let me at it, I will do that. And I loved all the business stuff. Like I was thriving there. But the more I volunteered for the people stuff, the more I wanted the people stuff. I see you nodding, you get it.
Yeah, I
And
do.
so much so that I was ready to leave for it. And Bain's a really hard place to leave. It's a really phenomenal place to work. And so I think your friends, usually like you see at 21 or whatever, however old you are, you would just go tell all your friends I'm going to leave. And I didn't tell any of my friends. I went and told the most senior person at Bain I knew that I was going to leave to do people stuff. And he said with a lot of love, I think you could do it, but I don't know if you have like all the experience and the qualifications just yet. But at Bain, you could do it because you've done all these roles. You didn't leave. You're very tenured. You've seen it all. So he's like, if you would consider staying, I'll get you a career coach.
Huh.
And I was like, yes, I will absolutely take that career coach. Right? It was just such a kind and caring thing to do. Like, let's make sure this is what you truly want. And the results of that career coaching was people, 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 people. And so because I had told everyone my story, I told a bunch of senior people what I wanted to do. When Bain opened their first ever training role for a consultant to join and do some strategic work there, like it was a very easy jump. So I did that for 6 years. It was phenomenal. I got to look at what world class people programs look like. And when I was on the business side, I wanted all the people stuff. And when I was on the people stuff, I wanted more business stuff.
Mm.
So just see, that's eventually why I left to go into the startup and the tech world. I wanted to blend both those things. So
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing. And I think in the HR space, among many of the leaders, both within startup experts and outside, the radical candor framework is not unknown. I mean, it's very popular. It's name dropped. Um, uh, and you're a well-known, respected, I mean, one of 15 coaches. I've heard great things about you providing that level of training. But I'm actually more interested in what you're doing now, because when we chatted at the responsive conference, you were like, wait, I'm actually doing this really cool thing on communication. I'm really, really passionate about it.
yeah.
Would you tell us more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest thing for me, like you said, with Radical Candor, my own framework is, as you know, in the world today and in startups, like communication matters. I mean, communication matters in our personal life, right? Everything about it matters. And so it's such a lever point in people's experience of the world. So I care so deeply about communication. And one of the things I gained from my experiences both at Bain was seeing what world class communication looked like, and in startups was how hard it is to go through change and how hard it is when you have to pivot, because that's what you do in a startup. That's what you do to achieve greatness, right? You have to be able to pivot. Um, and then right now, with all the hard news and all the hard change people are experiencing. And so I created a framework, which is, how do you give hard news or bad news or deliver a change in a way that is kind and empathetic and it is clear? Because I don't know, I'm sure we're all experiencing this, but leaders are burning out right now. Like,
Yeah.
everyone is experiencing change. And as a leader, you're responsible for communicating that change. So you're going through it yourself. And then you have to constantly deliver that to other people. And the cognitive load is just incredible right now. Like, it's off
Yeah.
the
It's
charts.
It's been a challenging 5, 6
Yeah.
years for
Yeah.
sure,
Yes.
the ups and downs, and, yeah, I mean, those are difficult conversations. At a high level, can you give us an example?
Yeah. Yeah. And let me tell you, the idea, like I said, is how can you reduce the leader burnout? How do you make sure the other person has a good experience? And then how do you let a company move forward? So it's supposed to be win win win. It is win win
Yep.
win, right? And the idea is that it's really important that you take steps in doing that so everybody can have that good experience. So um, when I think about some of the most important pieces of the framework, um,
Mhm.
the first is you actually have to get your facts straight, because when things are changing and things are pretty crazy in the world, like, the
Yeah.
facts get really fiery and messy, and it can be really hard to see clearly. And that leads to a really challenging mindset, which is either, you tell me which one you fall into, either I'm really frustrated, I just need to move on with this and I need to get it out there and we just need to keep going, which I think is very human.
Mhm.
Or one I see a lot is, I'm dreading this. Like, I don't want to tell this person this. This is so hard. Like, they're working so hard. They want this promotion, right? So we get into those two mindsets, and then it can be really hard on us to deliver, because it puts us in a place that we're not as effective as we could be, because we're so focused on all the emotions and what's going to happen for us and for the other person.
Mm.
So I'll give you an example to put this into context. So, to put this into context, there was a leader who had a team member working super long hours, not performing, and leader had to tell them this, which when someone is working till midnight is, like, again, just
Yeah.
something that is really, really hard to do. So we had a 30-minute challenging conversations coaching session where I met with them. And the very first thing we did was we clarified the facts. So when I asked her for the facts, she gave me a very messy picture. Company's crazy. Everyone is working long hours. I can't possibly tell them this while they're working. We're all trying the best. Like, everything is changing all the time. And Jesse, like, I don't know about you, but that would be paralyzing, right?
Yeah.
Like, that is a paralyzing moment, I would be hesitant to deliver this.
Uh-huh.
When I asked her for just the facts, she said something very different, which was for 6 months, this person has had errors in their work and missed multiple deadlines. This has impacted the business and our teammates significantly.
Uh-huh.
Totally different, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
totally different. And she immediately saw that she could deliver this. Not easy, but easier to deliver. She had a much more
Sure.
clear picture of things. So that we looked at her mindset, and it was dread. She felt like she was a backstabber. She had given a bunch of praise, which we kind of sometimes do, right? Like a lot of
Mhm.
thank yous for the long hours. And my question for her was, if you're bringing this much dread into the conversation, how do you think it's going to affect the conversation? Like, what do you think the impact's going to be?
Mhm.
Like, very quickly, she was like, "Oh gosh, I'm going to be apologetic. I'm going to be wishy washy. Like, it's not going to be a great experience for that person."
Mhm.
Because it was all about how she was feeling and all about her worry. So she was going to bring that
Mhm.
worry with her.
Mhm.
And then I asked her what mindset she wanted to be in, which is a very different question.
Mhm.
And it was really quick. She's like, actually, I want to be supportive. I want to be kind. Like, I actually really care about this person.
Mhm.
And nobody wants to be working late doing something subpar. Like, no performer ever said that. Right. And
Mhm.
I really care about that person. And that was the critical shift for her. That
Mhm.
when she saw, okay, this is clear, and I need to be more in a mindset of being kind and supportive. I need to focus on that other person because that's the best thing I can do for that person right now is truly tell them what's happening and give them that clarity and do it in a kind and supportive way. And so, with the facts that were much more
Yep.
clean, with separate from emotion and the mindset shift, she was able to leave the meeting with like a lot of clarity, but more than clarity, she had more comfort in doing it and frankly a
Yeah.
lot more confidence. Like to me, when I coach people, I don't want them to just have the skill or the words. Like you
Mhm.
have to feel comfortable and you have to feel confident in doing it. Emailed the next day, said it went better than she could have imagined. Person accepted it and person thanked her, which is right, the best you could hope for.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Thank you for walking through that with an actual example. When you are running your workshop, I imagine you're working with senior leaders, managers. Um, walk us through, what a workshop does look like.
Yeah. So whether I'm doing coaching or I'm doing a workshop, everything I do, Jesse, is mindset and skill set, right? Because I can
Mhm.
give you all the words in the world, but if
Uh-huh.
you don't want to have a hard conversation, there is literally no point, right?
Yeah.
So the first step in the workshop is for people to really understand how important it is and like the impact for them on communication. So I tell some of my hardest stories of how communication personally impacted me and how you can actually impact communication and people's experience and still make really challenging decisions in business. So really helping people to get into that mindset of like, this is actually very possible.
Mhm.
And the next thing we do is actually I'm a very practical person. So we walk through each step of the framework and we practice, we give examples, we give exercises, and people are actually phrasing, Jesse, like multiple times in the workshop. They are phrasing the hardest things that they need to do to be able to communicate. So whether it's you're not getting that promotion, the person is not performing, there is a work strategy pivot, whatever is the hardest thing that a person needs to communicate. We're like doing the greatest hits in the workshop. And they are also practicing a real world example of something that they need to do.
That's actually really interesting about, working with leaders. I am curious about, and for the perspective of other startup experts members in our group, what would be, a piece of advice that you could share with our community at large for those individuals walking into what they know is going to be a difficult conversation?
Yes. I'll give you 2 things. One is and both are about mindset. One is when it comes to your mindset, Jesse, you have to check your mindset because if you are frustrated or you are dreading something like we talked about in the last example, it's going to come through. Like, no matter how good an actor you are, people will always know how you feel. And especially in the HR space or in an environment where things are moving really fast, like you are take going from like meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting with all different things that you're bringing with you. So someone in one of the workshops says you need to clear your cache. So
Mm.
make sure you take a beat. You know what mindset you're in. And if you're in dread, you got to find a way to get yourself to a different spot. So that's one. Two, another golden nugget. But if you do nothing else but this, is when you think about your communication, think about what you want the person to say and feel after the conversation. Because we're always so like, what should we say and what are the words and what is the message we have to deliver? But if you can step inside that person's mindset, step inside their shoes, I promise you, if you know, like, what, like, think about what they already know. Like, has information already been leaked? Think about what they most need. Do they need someone to say they recognized you work hard, or do they really care about fair? And then just like, what is that thing based on all of that you want them to say and feel afterwards to a friend or to someone else? You will be able to reverse engineer what you could say. And sometimes with bad news, the best thing you can possibly expect someone to say is just like, thank you for giving it to me straight. This sucks, but I appreciate that you did it and I appreciate you told me. And that will help you work backwards. That's going to help you know all the right levels of empathy to be able to put into the conversation.
Those are great nuggets of wisdom. Thank you. As we wrap up this short form chat today, how can people find you?
Yeah. So I live on LinkedIn. So you could just always find me on LinkedIn, Farrah Mitra. And then my email is farrah@greenreadgroup.com. I care so deeply about this. I am happy to geek out anytime. Hard conversations are my jam. So please reach out if that's something you're experiencing a lot of.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you next week at
Yeah,
Transform.
perfect.
Thank you for listening to this Becoming Better with Startup Experts discussion. If you're interested in learning more about our community and perhaps joining, please visit www.startupexperts.us.